Hi, I'm Isabella Steffel, and I did my speech on the dancing plague of 1518. This took place in the 16th century in the French city of Strasbourg. There were many casualties to this plague, as well as 400 deaths. This is a piece of history that has no set in stone explanation as to why it happened. You're probably wondering, who was the first person who had the symptoms of this plague? And it all started with a French housewife named Frau Troffea. She was outside of her home in the streets and started to dance uncontrollably. Her husband was pleading for her to stop because he could see how much pain she was in, but she just couldn't stop. After 3 days of this happening, city officials and leaders started to notice her symptoms and brought her to a nearby town about 30 miles away called Saverne, France. They went there hopefully to find a cure or an explanation to her symptoms. But once she arrived there, her symptoms were still happening. She was still dancing uncontrollably, and people started to mimic her moves and experience symptoms as well. This got officials very confused and worried because casualties and deaths were starting to occur. So the first thing that they decided to do to make it stop was to maybe have people try to basically dance the plague out of them by just getting too exhausted to dance. So what they decided to do was to open up the town and have stages and musicians and instruments and almost have like a festival for all these people to hopefully dance these symptoms out of them. And this is what it looked like. This, however, only made things worse. It had more people developing symptoms and starting to dance uncontrollably without being able to stop. So the second thing that they decided to do was to ban all instruments, and people had to stay inside of their homes and just deal with the illness on their own to prevent the spread of more people experiencing symptoms. This, however, didn't really work either because there were still casualties and deaths taking place. So the next thing that they decided to do, which was kind of like they were losing hope almost, so this was the last thing that they decided to do, was bring all these people on a 3-day journey to the St. Vitrus shrine. And St. Vitrus is the patron saint in the Catholic Church for curing diseases and illnesses. And people were brought to this shrine, and they were given red slippers to wear, blessed with holy oil and holy water. And they were also given crosses to carry. And this is what the shoes looked like that they wore. There was also a wooden statue of St. Vitrus there, so people with the crosses and the slippers basically took turns coming to this statue to plead and pray and beg for their lives to be spared and for their dancing symptoms to go away. This is the crazy thing. This is what actually caused the whole plague to end, was people coming to this shrine. This was almost their last resort to end it, and it actually worked. The deaths stopped, the casualties stopped, and the uncontrollable dancing stopped. And it stopped in the month of August, in around mid-August, and this whole phenomenon started in June. So this whole ordeal lasted for about 3.5 months. Although this is still kind of a mystery, there are some possible causes as to why this possibly happened. The first one is demonic possession. It was a very widespread believed thing during that time, and the cure was from a patron saint, so that's why some people believe it could be a demonic possession. And the second one is overheated blood, which can cause uncontrollable body movements. And the last one is that the bread that these people were eating was contaminated with ergot, which is known to cause uncontrollable convulsions in people. And even though this is still an unknown, mysterious piece of history, it is one of the most interesting to learn and to develop information on. It just makes you mind blown as to some of the things that happen in the world that are unexplainable. And I encourage anybody who is interested in this phenomenon to even do more research than just this speech. It's a really cool thing that took place in our history. Thank you so much for listening to this speech.